All right, so let's go ahead and dive into our program. I'm going to give you just a few tidbits and turn the program over to Renee. I have several things I want y'all to leave here with today. This is not done in a silo. There are 30 plus amazing people in the state of Colorado, to include Renee, working on our mission. But we have 5 million people plus to count. How can 30 people count 5 million people? We can't. That's a reality, and we owned that very early on, and so we said we need help in doing this. We can go to the next one. We need help because we have a mission to count from the Constitution. How many of you can say you've ever had a job where you worked for the Constitution of the United States? Nowhere else does that happen, FYI. When we go to do presentations, people are like, that's weird. So we have, oh, there we go, thank you. So we have an actual mission. Look how pretty it is. So I'm a historian by trade. One of these days when I grow up, I'm going to be a history teacher. So my background is in history. So I find this to be fascinating, and I consider it my true honor. I mentioned I have a government background. It's always been something that I take super seriously, and when I was like 18 and 20, and I didn't know that you're supposed to be quiet at offices, I was like, why is that guy not working super hard? We work for the taxpayers, we work for the public. Now that I'm 48, I'm like, why aren't you working harder? You work for the taxpayers, you work for the public. So we work for the Constitution, and look at these first 3 words, because when you leave here, I'm giving you homework that you can take out into the community and be our voice. Not our voice, our voice to get the census done, okay? So the first 3 words are what? Can you see that?
It's a mission.
Oh, sorry. Go to the next. Go to the. Give good instructions. See this bullet point right there? What are the first 3 words?
The actual enumeration.
The actual enumeration. Say that together. The actual enumeration. In layman's terms, we're counting people. We're going to count everyone in the country. Why? Because the Constitution of the United States says so. What does the Census Bureau say? Let's read it together. Count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. So the reason that we do that is because the census is the foundation of democracy. Say that together. It's the foundation of democracy. We're nonpartisan. You guys are nonpartisan too. That's why we love you. We have a mission to deliver an actual enumeration to the White House on December. I'm seeing familiar faces. Hello. I just want to say that this is a fair and inclusive process. But when somebody says to you, why are you doing the census? Why did you guys put this on your platform? Why are you working on this? I want you to remember all of this that we're going to talk about, but it's the foundation of democracy. Somebody gives you have to have your elevator speeches, right? Who knows about elevator speeches? You have your 5-second, yes, 30-second, your 2-minute, and then you have your conversation, right? 5-second speech. What is it? Okay, by the end of the time that we're together today, you guys are going to own that. Okay? So what do? We determine apportionment in Congress. What does that mean? How many House of Representatives do we have in the House of Representatives?
435.
I love it! I love it! How many, let me ask one more time. How many representatives are in the House of Representatives? 435. If you said 435, you are correct. If you said, yes, you were correct. Thank you for raising your hand. If you said, well, what about Colorado? How many do we have in Colorado? 9. I love this. This is so much fun. So let's see. I have stickers for who tells me, from this table, how many do we have?
7.
Sorry. From this table, how many do we have?
7.
Just kidding, you guys already heard the answer. So we have 7. We have 2 U.S. senators. You can take one and pass one around to the table. We have other prizes, but if you want a sticker, take them. If you don't want it, here, take the whole thing. I need help. Remember, I need help. That's why we're here with y'all. So pass them around. If you don't want a sticker, we have other things. We have 2 senators for every state in the United States. Then we have the House of Representatives. Those are determined by the census count. Okay? So you're going to go to meetings, and after Renee and I are done talking to you, people are going to say, Colorado's getting another seat. And after today, you're going to know the appropriate answer. The appropriate answer is if we get a complete and accurate count. Say it together. If we get a complete and accurate count. Why? Because we're counting everybody. It's an actual... Because what said so? And we're going to count everybody. And only once. And in the right place. All right, we're getting there. Why do we do this? Not just for apportionment, because it determines federal dollars. So, you're going to hear $13 billion. You're going to hear $800 billion. You're going to hear $2,000 per person. The Census Bureau says $675 billion of federal funds goes back to the states. How often?
Every year.
Take that in for a second. $675 billion annually goes back to the states based on census counts. Okay? So if we have an accurate count in Colorado, we're going to get our fair share of the pie. It's your money coming back to the states. If we do not have an accurate count, are they going to set that on reserve and put that in your savings account? No, it goes somewhere else. That's why we have to do a complete and accurate count in a nonpartisan manner. The next thing that the census data does is it provides for redistricting. So our staff is teamed up. What do we say when we talk about redistricting? The states do that. She was ready. I put her on the spot. So we don't talk about the redistricting. You all are very likely to talk about redistricting because that's some of your platform. We don't dictate that. The Census Bureau does not do redistricting. The states do redistricting. And Colorado actually has some laws that they passed a last session before about redistricting. So that's a whole other conversation. When people say, again, why is the census important? It informs government decisions, business decisions, nonprofit, our leaders. It also, if you think about redistricting, if y'all want to talk about that, that's not just for the House of Representatives. That's for the county districts. That's for the state representative districts. That's for the state senator districts. That's for your water board. That's why the census is local, okay? And I know you all know all politics are local. We talk about how local impacts take precedence from the census data, okay? It also provides a population benchmark. Okay, so let's do this real quick. I see a straight line right here. You all are invited to my birthday dinner in June to come to my house to eat. Only this half of the room RSVPs. But you all are still planning to come because you heard I'm a good cook when I have time. So everybody in here is coming to dinner, but I only got RSVPs for this portion of the room, and it's first come, first serve, and the whole front part of the room shows up on time, and the last part of the room doesn't show up on time, and then you come in. Somebody in the back, raise your hand. This woman comes in, she gets a sticker. She comes in and she says, but I RSVP'd. I know that she didn't RSVP because I talked to her the other day. And what am I going to say? Sorry, that's all we had. That's for the resources I planned for. So when you think about this, the census dictates a number in our population for the next decade for federal funding of how much? $675 billion for roads, for schools, for pre-K, for hospitals, for senior resources, for roads and bridges. Shall I keep going? WIC, SNAP, TANF, housing. Shall I keep going? Grant money, nonprofits, governments. Okay? Do you see the importance of the census? You already knew that when we walked in the room. Who learned something new in the last 5 minutes? Fantastic. All right. This is not our study. Repeat that. This is not the Census Bureau's study. Okay. You are welcome to go to this website and look at this. It's fascinating data. Fascinating. This is called the George Washington University Counting for Study. And when y'all have this, if you share it out, there's a hyperlink right here. You can go right to the website. There's an amazing professor over there at the university who did a study. His name is Dr. Reamer. We talked to him on the phone 2 years ago, and I said, I love the phone. I love being on the generational cusp between the millennials and my mom. And I picked up the phone and called him. Shocking! He answered the phone. I said, can you jump on a conference call with my team? And he said, yes. So if you take a look at this breakdown, this is study number 1. Okay, he has 7 studies. So study number 1, he broke this down for us. Let me say that I'm not going to read this to you because we don't have time today. This shows you the money that comes back into our state, whether it's a federal agency through your county, or if it's a type of money. And look at this, direct pay, grants, 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 grants. Remember I just said grants? The recipients, the states, households, providers, states, owners, states, providers. This goes on and on. This doesn't go to one place. This comes to our local communities in different ways. And I already went through these, so I'm not going to do these again. Somebody tells me the other day, I'm not going to fill out the census because I'm retired. My numbers don't matter. I'm not driving as much. I'm not investing in schools anymore. My kids are grown. What about our civic duty? How many in the room are veterans or married to veterans or living with a veteran? Civic duty is a message that resonates with veterans and military. And if you're in a partisan room, sometimes certain parties, not going to say which because we're nonpartisan, they actually love that message of a civic duty. So you have to know your audience on top of everything else, okay? So you want to talk about, by the way, this is our civic duty to provide for the next generation. What about your kids' kids? Your kids' are going to go to school. You're going to drive them to school. Somebody's driving them to school. What about our families like me who are a sandwich family, and I need to think about, can I afford to put my mom in a nursing home, or am I going to provide for her? And if I do I need to learn to write a grant? And are there going to be resources to provide for her if I need help? Because a lot of people say these are social causes and they don't want to contribute to social causes. Oh, I don't like Medicaid. They should just go get a job. Well, guess what? What if we've never had any social benefits and my mom needs something, housing? What if she needs a bus pass to get around because she can't drive anymore? Her vision went out, right? This is not limited to any one person. Census data touches our lives every single day, the minute that you wake up till the minute that you go to bed. It's fascinating stuff. Next message. Why should you tell somebody to do the census? Because it's safe. Our tagline is it's safe, it's easy, it's important. We just covered the importance, okay? Confidentiality. I was watching, because I like this stuff and I'm a weirdo, I watched the oversight hearing last night that our director went and testified at. And I love this kind of stuff, and so I was like popcorn and checking emails and watching the director testify and watching some of the representatives, those folks are very partisan, quiz him and question him on why people should trust that the census is okay for them to fill out. Who's in the mountain towns? Your mountain towns are going to ask you about this. This should be your opener, okay? Who's from the rural part of our state? Eastern Plains or mountains? This should be your opener, okay? Let me step out of the way so you can see this. Federal law, Title 13, which was created long before I came on to work for the census, protects this data for 72 years. In 72 years, after I fill out the census, I will either not be here, which trust me is okay, because I haven't planned well for retirement, or I will be too old to kill, right? Okay? So, sorry, it's ripping off a Band-Aid, just call it what it is. We've taken an oath to protect your data. Do you remember I said that I believe in public service? We've taken an oath. So I'm done August 1st. Renee is done August 1st with our jobs. We move on to new things. We took this as a temporary commitment to the public, to Colorado. So this oath doesn't end on August 2nd. This is a lifetime oath, and I heard the director testified in front of Congress the other day. All of our employees for generations have protected that, and that's why we're the largest data gatherer in the country. Okay? Amazing stuff, fun stuff. What do I like to do? I like to build up who I work for. We work for the Census Bureau. Who trusts federal government? It's diminishing, and it's low already. We work for a cool agency. We get to tell people that, and we need your help in delivering. The Census Bureau is the largest data gatherer, and by the way, they commit all of their employees to a background check and to a lifetime oath. And if they violate the public's trust, they can be put into a federal prison for up to 5 years and or a fine of $250,000. Severe punishment for violating that trust. We also have statistical safeguards. This is the first time that we're going to have it on the internet. There have been other things that have been on the internet, but this is the decennial census, the one we do every 10 years. Who likes working on the internet? Okay, that's representative of the community. So some of you are going to get this, and we're going to go live on March 12th, and all of a sudden, some of you are going to go on the internet and fill it out. Okay, and this is now we're going to switch to our exercise in a second. Is that good? You want to wait? Tell me. Renee's in charge of me today. So it's just going to take you a matter of minutes. I did this test the other day. It's not a race. We want to take time with you on some questions. But the other day I put the forms out, and they filled them out. And the first person was done in 40 seconds, and the last person was done in 1:20. Excuse me, you just built the foundation of democracy in 40 seconds? Amazing. Give yourselves a pat on the back. That's amazing. We're not asking for that much, right? It's cool stuff. But folks need to know if they're going to put their information on the internet, it's safe and it's protected. It is. We have, the technical term is statistical safeguards. I will see people go on Facebook and fill out a questionnaire about their name, their phone number. I want to know about my personality. How great am I? Here's my address. Here's my birth date. And then the census comes and I'm like, excuse you, that's private information. So we're not asking you to give us more information than what you would normally put on a credit card. So we're going to talk about that in just a minute. Do we have a question? Oh, okay. So are we ready to do this one? All right, here's a question. Where does it say we should do the census every 10 years? Number one, the Declaration of Independence. Hold your answers. B, I said number one. B, I didn't say I was going to be an English teacher, I said history. B, the Articles of Confederation. C, the Constitution. D, the Denver Post. Wait, hold. How do we want to do this? Okay, wait, we started with the front of the room. I'm going to say, oh man, this is tough. So, middle of the room, back. First person to raise their hand, go. Oh, shoot. Okay, I saw the gal in the back, in the very, very back of the room with a purple sweater, and I saw a person at this middle table right here with a white blouse on. Yes, the one going like this, and then we'll just include you for fun because I don't want to be excluding anybody. So, what is the answer? Very back of the room. Yes, you are correct, so all three can have a prize. All right, so I'm going to keep going while Renee passes that out, and then I'm going to pass the torch to Renee and let her walk us through some more stuff. How can I respond to the census? So now we've given you some amazing taglines. It's the foundation of democracy. We start on March 12th. People will receive information in March. We go through July 31st. No, I don't want you talking about July 31st. Why? Because we as a people tend to procrastinate. It's a presidential election year. Your kids need extra money from you. You got to pay the bills. You got to plow the snow. You got to plant the garden. Everybody's super busy. You're going to keep procrastinating and procrastinating, and then this is going to get pushed to the back burner, and we don't want to do that. I'm going to tell you why later, okay? If you tell people we have 4 ways to respond, that's fine. I would prefer you say 3 ways to respond. The phone, the internet, and paper. It's super complicated, and we don't need to go into high detail on how this is going to work. We have maps for everything on our webpage that you can get. You can Google census maps, census mail strategy, census forms. All of this stuff pops up. It's great, okay? What you want to know is the phone and the internet go live March 12th. People that speak these 13 languages can respond on the internet and on the phone. When they dial into a phone number, if you speak Portuguese, someone will answer the phone who speaks Portuguese. If you go to the internet and you want to do the census form in Japanese, there's a button in the upper right-hand corner. Well, excuse me, that's our 2020 census.gov. If you go to the census questionnaire and you see you're going to have the symbols in your own language, you don't need to get your kiddos to say in your language, which one is my language. This is your language is all on there, and you click on the button and the entire website changes into your language. Cool stuff. Oh, sorry. Oh, perfect. Sorry, I couldn't see it. Perfect. Thank you. See how all the little languages are right here? You click on it and it switches, except for our tagline, because we want everybody to say, shape your future, even with an accent. It would be fantastic and beautiful. Okay, and then the paper form. Who gets paper at their front door, like me, when I walk into the house, I grab my mail? Raise your hands high. Okay, pretty representative of Colorado. Who has a P.O. box? Raise your hands high. Okay. Who lives on Country Road 152? I'm making that up. And you get mail how?
I get it on my country road, but the entire town of Untitled gets it in a P.O. box.
Perfect. Okay, so the flyer that we have outside says 95% of the country is going to get their census at their front door. 5% will get something called update leave. Guess what? We live in the Rocky Mountain region. Our percentage of update leave, you don't need to remember the technical piece. I'm going to walk through this in layman's terms. Our percentage is higher. It's roughly 30-some%. And what does that mean? Oh my goodness, we've been hammering you and telling everybody, share our jobs, share our jobs, share our jobs, share our jobs. Why have I been doing that? Because, I'm going to come to this in just one second. We had to hire somebody to drive out to your house and update the address. Even though we've been doing this since 2010, we've done master sweeps over and over on the whole country to make sure we don't miss a household. And now it's time to update the address one more time and leave the packet at your front door. Update, leave. Colorado has a higher number, and Montana and Wyoming do as well, than the rest of the country. So we have a lot of people to go door to door on all of you that get P.O. boxes and you have the rural remote locations. If you get your, yes, thank you. This is Colorado's. So see where the yellow is? And we could spend a half an hour talking about this. Wherever you, and this is a county, these are the county breakdowns. Wherever you see yellow is where we have to have somebody physically go drop off the form. Do you remember I said public service is about taxpayer dollars and accountability? We would love to see internet and phone responses on the high end in March and April and have a press release that says the Census Bureau didn't end up filling all those jobs. You remember me when I'm not around and I don't see you, and you see a press release that says the Census Bureau didn't fill their jobs that they barked and barked and barked about for months, but Colorado got a higher response rate than we anticipated. That's okay. We want to make sure that it's accessible to everybody. So now why do we want to talk about the mail strategy? And I saw a hand raised. Yes, ma'am.
I heard you the other night also up in Longmont. I'm going to help cover the mountains.
She said she's going to help.
I've already been meeting with them. If you have a P.O. box, the census is going to have a packet for every address in a mountain or rural area.
Yes, ma'am. Are we going to have a packet for every address in a remote or rural or mountain area? If you don't get your mail, thank you for queuing up the next slide. So if you get your mail at the front door, I see you. You're good. No, oh, stay where you were. You're good. All right, this is super complicated. Remember I said when you all leave here, I want you to have a few talking points. This is in the slide that we're going to share with you, and you can share it out with everybody. This is online. You don't need to memorize this because it's really complicated. And I heard, do you remember I corrected Julie the other night and I said, no, don't use the word wait. I hate the word wait. Okay, let me tell you what's going on. There is something called Internet First and Internet Choice. Again, this is all available online. These are the mails. Who's ever worked for the USPS? We don't want to drop all of the forms in the mail and say, hey, brothers and sisters that carry mail for us, here's the whole country. Take them. So what we want to do is batches, okay? And we call them cohorts. And so they're going to get dropped across the country starting March, the week of March 9th. And there's a process. It's super complicated, and it's very intentional. And I say complicated if you don't know about it and you haven't been talking about it. You're going to be like, whoa, that's a lot, and you're going to tune out. What you need to know is that the Census Bureau took time to think about how do we match where people have different language needs? How do we match where they don't get mail at their front door? How do we match people who are least likely to respond to the census and then get the census out in a paper format and still be cognizant of taxpayer dollars? That's a lot of stuff to take care of in one mission for the entire country. So what they did is they said, we're going to focus on specific populations first. And then we haven't even talked about internet broadband and whether or not you have access to internet broadband. So what I heard Julie say when we were in Longmont the other night is she said, she went into the details of this. And she said, if you want to wait for your paper format, here's what you need to do. And I'm going to tell you, if you get your mail at the front door, you are going to get a census form at your house. I would prefer not to say wait, because here's why. And by the way, here's one of our sample invitation letters. We put this up just so y'all could see it. I would prefer we don't say wait. Because let me ask a show of hands. Who commits right this moment to filling out the census? Right? How simple was that? I don't want anybody in this room to wait because you all already say you're going to fill it out. You have no clue, unless you've been out talking to folks, how many people are saying right now, why should I fill this out?
Sorry.
Why would I give the government my information? My mountain town people, what if the government comes and takes me away? What if they take my children away? What if they take my husband away? Let's take it a different direction. I worked for the federal government for 30, 40 years. They know where I live. I don't need to do this again. Those are the people we have to spend our resources on. So people like you, my friends, my birthday people, y'all have to fill this out so that we can deploy our resources appropriately. I saw a question here, and I'm going to switch it over to Renee for the next piece. Oh, okay. Question? Good? Okay, we're going to keep going.
You want to cue us up?
Oh, okay. So at your table, let's take
4 minutes? That's a lot.
All right, so we're not going to time it. We're just going to get it started. Everybody at the table, one person grab the form and start talking to your table mates about filling out the form. We only give you one, so if you have 9 people in the house, how many would you fill it out for? Okay, if you have 13 in your house, how many would you fill it out for? If you have 1, like me, my mom and my kiddo moved out, I would fill it out for 1 person. All right, so let's go ahead and have some chatter. See if you have any pauses, if anybody stops. And then if there's a concern, like if you want to respond to the address, like you and I asked for emergency numbers, and we're going out, then they send somebody out there. We have questions. I'm going to come here first. Let's bring it back together because we found out we have how much time left? Oh, we're okay. All right, so let's start. I want to start here. I'm going to make my way around the room and answer some questions because how many of you have committed to help us get these filled out with actually doing things with the public to get questionnaires answered? We call them questionnaires. Okay, there are only 2 in the room. I'd like to see more, and there's a reason for that. I'm asking you to, I'm going to be honest. So I was laughing when I was coming down. We carried boxes down here of those folders, and I was shaking like this when I set them down. And I'm coming to you. She's first, you're second. And when I came down, I was like, oh, they're going to think I'm very intimidated by public speaking because my hands were like this. And I didn't want you to know that my muscles have all atrophied because I don't do any exercise. But I want you to join us in dedicating time and attention to the census like we have done, because this is a mission critical. I talked to somebody yesterday who's in politics full time, and she's like, yeah, it's fun that you're working on the census. I'm like, oh, she doesn't get it. And if I had 10 to 15 minutes with every single person across the state, I have been almost 100% successful. I think I have only missed one person who walked away from me who was like, eh. But by the time we're done talking, they're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize how important it is. Of course I'm going to do this. I don't have that time, and we need your help doing this. So, ma'am, why don't you state your question, and I will do my best to answer it for the entire room.
When I mark white, for me, it's not just one of these ethnicities, it's about 6.
So, that's great. You should mark them all down. Whoa. You should mark them all down, and the Census Bureau will log the first one. However, it's great if you want to mark them all down. And there's plenty of room on the internet portion. Who paused, just by show of room, we're not going to spend a ton of time on this, but let's just do some generalities. Who paused when it came to the race and ethnicity questions? So will people when they're responding. That's why your message of the importance, the safety, and the ease of the census is critical to our mission. As long as you're delivering that message, it's important because of $675 billion every year, redistricting, and political power in the House of Representatives. You're going to continue that. Stay on that talking point for us. I know that it sounds like a political statement to say that, telling a politician, don't forget, as you go onto the stage, don't come off talking points. That's what I need you all to do. You have a talking point, because people will get to that. I stopped. I have been preaching this for 2 years, and I got to the race question, and I'm like, oh my goodness, it's the first time I get to choose something other than what I've been told to pick all these years. I paused to think about it, so that means other people will. So we're only going to do different questions because we have a short amount of time.
What if you own 2 places?
Excellent, thank you. You are filling it out for where you stay the majority of the time. What if you stay 365 days in the year and you stay exactly 50% in one house and exactly 50% in the other time of the year? It would be where you are on April 1st. Guess what? An elected official, super excited about the census, here in Colorado, and he says, I want to make sure that I'm helping every single which way I can. He invites us to a room like this. We're talking to hundreds of people. He's like, I'll pay for the food. He brought the food. He was doing everything he needed to do, and guess what? He pulls me aside and he's like, I want to clean my kids. And my wife has them 50% of the time. How do I make sure that happens? And I'm thinking, oh, for goodness sake, are you serious? Could I say that to people? No, but I did. And I said, well, let's walk this through. Where are they going to be on April 1st? And I couldn't believe it. He says they're going to be with me in the morning and her in the evening. And I was like, okay, so what's the next step? I said, well, I'll tell you what. This has nothing to do with a divorce settlement. This has everything to do with civic service, and you're an elected official, so why don't you take the high road? And I walked away, I was like, oh my Lord, I hope I just filled it out. Just fill it out. Questions from this table, questions from these tables right here. Yes, ma'am.
So when it asks, in number 8 is person of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin, is there a breakdown of how much Hispanic, Latino you have to be?
We don't need percentage. If you want to mark this up, let me make this super simple. This is self-identification. You get to tell us who you are. Quick question, let me segue, okay? So if you're El Salvadorian and you want to mark El Salvadorian, you can do that on the 2020 census. If you want to mark Guatemalan, you can do that. If you want to mark Puerto Rican, you can do that. I'm coming to you, so I will go here. So if you want to mark white and Bulgarian, I'm making this up as I go, English, British, you get to do that on the 2020 census. It's really, really cool. There's a question I want to come back to that you just raised on the gender question, so don't let me forget that.
I have a question. We have a lot of snowbirds that travel south, but we would like them to be counted in our county. So how do we get the word to them that they're in Arizona, and we want them to fill out the census to say that they live in Chaffee County, because that's where they spend the majority of the time?
I'm doing an arm wrestle with the gal that manages Arizona. So whoever wins. I'm kidding. No, she's 30 years Air Force. I don't know if I would win. I'm going to take 2 more questions, one from this side of the room and one from that side. So you're next and you're next. How do you do snowbirds? It's tricky. So there are people like Renee and I down in Arizona and other places that traditionally see snowbirds who are doing the same kinds of meetings today and every single day and making sure that we're getting this information out. And if they are in Arizona 6 months and a day, they will fill it out in Arizona. If they're in Colorado 6 months and a day, they'll fill it out here. If they don't know, like the elected official I just told you about, then if they're in Colorado on April 1st and they pulled into town, then they get counted in Colorado. Okay? The important thing, yes, we want them counted in Colorado. We want to make sure they filled it out. One question here and then one back there.
If you do it online, do you still get a packet at home?
Oh, good question. So this is why I ask for early response. So in an ideal situation, the answer is no. If you were intended to get an update leave packet, the reports are going to run daily. So I'm going to kind of step out of the limelight, come into March, and Renee's going to be doing her thing, and I'm going to literally see reports. I stepped in this because I like to talk to people. I'm not a statistician. I don't like that word. And I'm going to get reports every day that I have to monitor. Daily, we will see where people are responding, and you will get pulled off of a list. So in an ideal situation, do I see something slipping through the cracks if you fill it out at 10 p.m. at night? Absolutely. So if you get it and you've already filled it out online, you want to call the 1-800 number and say, I've already done this, I just got the packet. Just know that if you've done it online, you get a screen that says you've completed your census. At the very, very end, if you let it sit, I recognize you. If you let it sit for too long, it'll shut down. If you walk away and answer a phone call, it'll shut it down and then you got to start over. If you have 15 people in your house and you were on person number 15 and the UPS guy comes and it turns out you guys know each other and you start talking about the weather and you go back and it's gone, you got to start all over. So why? It's encrypted information. We want it to be safe. We don't want it sitting there open to threats, cyber threats. One question from Judith and then we're going to go back to the presentation.
How does the census ensure that the internet address is safe? In other words, how do we know when we get a quote-unquote message from the census?
So we're asking, okay, I have multiple things to say on this. We're asking for you to help be our messengers. You officially today became census ambassadors. Thank you, Renee, perfect. The census is safe, it's easy, it's important. Look to the right of the screen, please. I want you to help us share this information out with everybody. We will never ask for your social security number. We will never ask for your checking account information, banking account. We had to chuckle. I have a young person working for me and she said, what's a checking account? And I said, honey, let's go to Target this weekend. I'm going to write a check. It's going to be weird. Credit card information. We'll never ask you for your credit card number. Money or donations, we will never ask you for money. We'll never ask you for anything on behalf of a political party. I'm not going to read the other side to you because this side is more important in my brain. You have become census ambassadors to help us protect that this is a safe process. There are already, who got a card recently that said, this is the census, it had the word on there, and then you fill it out, it had like 2 questions, and you're like, cool, I already did my census. And then it said, now mail a check for $30. That's out there. That's out there, it's legal. So that came up at the director's testimony, and that is a political party taking part in that. It's tricky. If you're not paying attention, you might fill it out, and we've had people mail in money, and then they think they've done their census. Now, back to the original question, because you made me think of the safety, okay? This is why we need help, see? Delivering the right information at the right time, okay? It's safe, it's important, it's easy. Political power, federal funding. It's the foundation of democracy. Now, why would you do it on the internet? Well, you don't have to. You can do it by phone. You can do it by paper. Yes, you can wait till an enumerator comes to the front door if you haven't done it by then, but that's a very expensive undertaking. This is the largest peacetime mobilization of federal employees. Let me say that one more time. This is the largest mobilization of federal employees other than war. It's extremely expensive, which is why I focus on just those 3 responses. If you go onto the internet, the information is backed up every single day, and it's scrambled up. I'm using layman's terms because I'm not an IT professional. It's scrambled up so that if these women all fill it out together in the same place, I will not be able to decipher from the numbers that they put into the computer that it's you, and I know exactly where you live in your census tract. Or that it's you, and I know exactly where you live in your census tract. What I do know is I got the actual enumeration of all of these people that filled this out. And we have hired people that have made the website stronger than banking systems. So that's what we're looking at. And if you have doubts about that, fill out the paper form. If you have doubts about that, go onto the form. Please commit to doing it because you already told me you would. I see the hand in the back. Please hang on to that question. This is William the Lister. What is a lister? Well, we did another operation. We've already been on the ground. The census began in Alaska already. It's coming to Colorado in a matter of weeks. But this is what somebody looks like when they come to your front door. They have a badge that says, I'm a federal employee. And they're cool. We have our badges, and they have like a little eagle on them, and you can really decipher that it's a federal agency. Then he has a bag he'll be carrying that says United States Census Bureau. There are issues that we think somebody might try to replicate that. So what is important that we have? We have help from the community in getting out the right information at the right time and encouraging early self-response. See why we stay on talking point? Getting this message across. Next. Okay. Somebody asked me, skip those. You're good. There we go. Who asked about the college students? Okay. Who has kids, grandkids, siblings, and the like in college? Where are they going to school?
Minnesota.
Okay. Do they live here all the time? Okay. Who has a family member that lives in Colorado but left for college to a different state? Okay. So back of the room, where do they go to school?
New York State.
Are they counted in Colorado or New York State? Take a guess. Say it again?
New York.
Okay, and New York. Yes, they're counted there. No, that it's not like your taxes. I started to say no, and I wanted to make sure I actually answered that correctly. This is not like your taxes. Moms, dads, we get super protective. I already told the story about the elected official and his complicated subject matter. This is, they're counted where they are. Group quarters, okay? Now, and I like that Renee put the list up here. I'm talking specifically about college kids right now. They're counted early. So this is one of our earlier operations. We have operations for all kinds of things, and we have acronyms for everything. So this is GQ. We're going to do update leave. We're going to do NARFU. We're going to do GQ. I'm coming to you. I've got one back there, then you. We've got GQ, UL, NRFU. We've got PSs. But that's what it is. I'm sorry. Just say NARFU. Sorry, I have never heard anybody giggle when I say that. That's what the acronym is. I've never seen so many acronyms. That's why I like layman's terms. Why? Because we don't think in acronyms. All right, examples of group quarters. Oh, that's good. No, that's good. Nursing homes, residential treatment center. I have a friend who was in a motorcycle accident. Very, very smart man, has a wife and kids and everything, and he had to stay in a residential treatment center for over 6 months. Over 6 months. He's going to be counted in the residential treatment center. Now, where's his family counted? At home. Interesting, right? See, complicated. Don't make it complicated. It's already complicated. Workers' camps, we have migrant workers, field workers, pickers, growers. Western Slope has growers. Eastern Plains have ranchers and farmers. We've got to think about all those folks that come up, okay? Boom, you just said, oh, we want you to count your visa workers. Oh, this is a political statement. Guess what? I'm really upset. I have the number of visas cut. Are you supposed to chime in and say, me too? No, we're talking about the census. It's nonpartisan, and you say, we're going to count everyone once, only once, and in the right place. Okay? So these can become political conversations, and we want to make sure this is non-political. Okay. So if you run a group quarter, i.e. a college campus, a jail, a prison, we have already been working with you. Why? Because I just said it's a really technical operation. It's already underway. So we have a ton of people who are already doing forms and sharing information on where group quarters and homeless people are. I'm coming to you in the hat, and I'm coming over here for this question. And identifying those locations early. Because how many know the phrase point in time? So the point in time just happened in January. That's a local count. The Census Bureau does its own homeless count at a different point in time. No, not to be ironic with that. Somebody had their hand here. Okay? And I'm talking really fast because we have tons of information to share in a short period of time.
Can I address the sex question?
Yes, thank you for the reminder.
So I want you to address that, but I also wanted to know if I don't want to answer a question on that.
Okay. All right. So can you go back to the form, or do you want to just leave it right there?
To the form?
Yeah, that actually had the questions on it. That's good.
Well, that's for group quarters.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about the sex question for a second. If you identify as anything other than male and female, you may find that you may be upset with the Census Bureau that we don't have other options there. Filling out the census, they may express their disappointment, frustration. They may say, I want to skip this question. They may say, I don't even want to participate with the census. I had a PhD woman tell me, remember I said if I had 5 to 10 minutes with every single person I'd be fine? Well, months and months ago, she says, I've told all 3 of the last semesters don't fill out the census in protest. And I said, why? So we had a conversation, it was extremely political, and I had reached out to her for a dog business. Okay. And I said, let me tell you about the census and its importance. She said, how do I unring the bell? I said, you can't, unless you call up all your students, which I want you to do right now. And so I let her go. So, short answer to the gender question, sex question. There are legislators who have already taken to Congress bills to change the census question. Let them do their job. We have our job to do right now. The forms are printed. We're already in production. It's in motion. People are aware of it. One Colorado is one of our advocates and one of our partners, and they will continue to fight for you to get any way of identifying you that you prefer on the form. But right now, our mission is to count everyone once, only once and in the right place. And One Colorado, who is our statewide advocate for LGBTQIAA rights, is working on that. They'll do their job. We've got a job to do. Okay? All right, one last question, and we're going to wrap up. And Renee, I'll give the phone number. Okay. She's right here. She's been patiently waiting.
Canada, grandchild in Canada, college.
They'll be counted outside of the country. If Canada does a census, then they'll be counted over there. They will not be counted here. International students, if they're gone during this process and they're not home by April 1st, they're not counted here. If your family member is pregnant and they have the baby April 1st or before that, they're counted here. If they have it April 2nd at 12:02 a.m., the baby's not counted until the 2030 census. But guess what? That's why we need everybody else to fill it out to get the resources, because now we have a whole decade. Okay, let's review these dates real quick. March 12th, weeks away, self-response begins. Self-response yields the best data. Traditional census day is April 1st. So you're going to see a lot of fun stuff in the media and all kinds of folks talking about it on April 1st. You guys are going to be like, we started long ago with Lily and Renee. We're ready. We're rolling. Group quarters, April 2020. So again, we're working with those agencies already. Through the end of July, July 31st. See, I was right. NARFU, I'm not going to say it again. That's the door knocking campaign, essentially. December 2020, the Census Bureau delivers the report. And it's funny because I know the young lady that put this together, and she left off to the White House because I know her personal preferences. We deliver the report to the White House. This is the process, y'all. This is we're doing our job. Will the White House see where you live and your name? No. They'll see the number, the statistics for location, demographics, your racial and ethnicity questions. They will not be able to say Jane Doe and Jim Doe identified as this, sexual answer, the male-female. They will not be able to say Jim Doe said that he's from Ethiopia and he's here illegally. That question came up in Congress yesterday. Why? Because we don't ask that question. The citizenship question's not on the census. I wondered if you knew. We're finding out more and more. Not everybody knows that. So let me say it again. We have a handful of questions. It's a snapshot in time of the demographics of our country to build up for resources for the next decade. March 31st, 2021, redistricting information is sent back to the states, and then we leave that up to the states to do. We don't do that. Oh. All right. My ask of you. They haven't stopped, right? I'm not shy about this. This is one of the conversations we have early on, is to leave all your shame at the door, because we're asking for a lot of help. We're asking for a lot of free things, and if you listen to the critics, they're going to say we're underfunded, we're under budget, and we're under manpowered. And a lot of those critics are people and organizations I believe in strongly, personally. And what I can tell you is that we've got people power, okay? And I take this so seriously. We need you. We need you to step up and help us out with this. If you can do nothing else but take a picture and text your spouse or text your kids or something and say, I heard about the census today, did you? If you can put it on social media, do that. If you can write postcards somewhere and say the census is important and so are you to me, so fill it out, do that. If you can stand up and deliver 5 seconds of a message at the next meeting you go to, do that. If you can staff a mobile questionnaire assistance site, I need you to do that. We're going to put that back up. We're going to put it back up. She went back for me. Well, Lily, what is a questionnaire assistance site? Well, thank you for asking. I'm going to tell you. It is a place, such as a location, I'm not going to say where you were, but a physical location where we are making the census accessible to others. You can leave these by yourself. You can do them in partnership with us. You can do them in partnership with our other team members on the operations side of the house. And we will have laptops and we will come to you. I don't care if you're in Bent County, if you're in Moffett County, if you're in Montezuma County, if you're in a little rinky-dink town, what was it? A little mountain town in the middle of nowhere. I took a turn one time running out of gas and found gas, a marijuana shop and a brew pub. I couldn't believe it. So I took my mom to the marijuana shop. I took my mom to the hamburger joint and got a beer. I think it was called Crestone, Colorado. All right, so, and then we got the gas, and then we kept on coming home from San Luis. You can set those places up in the brew pubs, at church, at schools, anywhere that people gather or come to normally. We have complete count committees, which we didn't talk about, which we wanted to talk about, and we've run out of time. We're going to consider you, ready? You're going to put you on the map. You're going to be I've made Renee just jump all over the place. We're going to consider you a complete count committee today. A year and a half ago, I would have spent a ton of time telling you what that means and all of these things and amazing things about a complete count committee. We're in go mode, folks. You are our statewide League of Women Voters Complete Count Committee. And it's going to go on the map to show the whole country that I count, that Renee counts, and you count. Okay? So you're going to help us, and if you want to do a mobile questionnaire assistance site, that's what we need you to do. Now, one message out of this, we're sworn individuals. You're not. You should not be leaning over and helping somebody do their answers. You should not encourage them to answer one way or another. And you should tell them, well, if a Census Bureau employee were here, they're sworn, they can help you. But now that I have you here, let's do this real quick, because it just takes a matter of seconds. All right, so again, this is listed in your slide deck that we can share. This is also available online. Go to the Google and say Complete Count Committee and the census, and you'll see what a complete count committee is. And then I think the last slide, this young lady in the middle wanted to see what that was, and I don't even know what it was. Okay, who is on social media? Take a picture right now and say hashtag 2020 census and put this on Twitter. Come here, Renee. Come here. Stand next to me, because we're going to be in the picture. All right, ready? Now we're ready. Let's do this. All right, so hashtag 2020 census, or if you speak Spanish, you're going to say hashtag censo 2020, or 2020. And then you're also going to encourage people to apply for our jobs. We did not go into statistics in schools today. That's available online. It's fun stuff for their kiddos. Guess what? I'm going to leave you with this message. Who is a trusted messenger? And that's what we look for to deliver these messages. Well, yes, of course, the League of Women Voters. Hello, you guys are 100 years old today, right? But 3 most trusted voices: a faith leader, a teacher, and a healthcare worker. That's who we sought after very early on. Guess who they don't identify as the number 1 trusted voice? And I think that we've had lots of conversations about it. A child who goes home and says, Mom, fill this out. Grandma, fill this out real quick. Judy, I know you're my foster mom, but I was just learned about statistics in schools from the census, and we've got to fill this out real quick. And don't forget to count the other foster kids in the house. Most undercounted populations in Colorado in 2010, children under the age of 5, billions of dollars lost, and rural populations. So we're going to count everybody once, only once, in the right place. Why? Federal funding, political power, and you guys are going to help us in this endeavor. So thank you so much for committing to it. Renee, thank you. Oh, yeah. Renee's going to stay for lunch to answer questions. I'm down to meet with some other folks in the Denver Tech Center. Thank you, thank you, thank you.